Whenever I'm looking for a subject for a video, I can always rely on Prager University to supply me with the needed herps and derps.
Perhaps the best arguments for his existence come from, of all places, science itself. Here's the story. The same year Time featured its now famous headline, the astronomer Carl Sagan announced that there were two necessary criteria for a planet to support life: the right kind of star and a planet the right distance from that star. Given the roughly octillion planets in the universe, that's one followed by 24 zeros, there should have been about septillion planets, that's one followed by 21 zeros, capable of supporting life.
Fundies have cited this jerk-off before. Instead of citing peer-reviewed journals, apologists will cite Metaxas's article from the Wall Street Journal titled "Science Increasingly Makes the Case for God." The closest thing to a peer-reviewed scientific article that this asshole has written is a few episodes of VeggieTales. Seriously, look it up. He really is a writer for VeggieTales.
As our knowledge of the universe increased, it became clear that there were, in fact, far more factors necessary for life, let alone intelligent life, than Sagan supposed. His two parameters grew to 10, then 20, and then 50, which meant that the number of potentially life-supporting planets decreased accordingly. The number dropped to a few thousand planets and kept on plummeting. Even SETI proponents acknowledged the problem. Peter Schenkel wrote in a 2006 piece for Skeptical Inquirer, a magazine that strongly affirms atheism, "In light of new findings and insights, we should quietly admit that the early estimates may no longer be tenable." Today, there are more than 200 known parameters necessary for a planet to support life, every single one of which must be perfectly met or the whole thing falls apart.
Even if there are a few hundred parameters, the enormous number of planets still seems more than sufficient to make it very probable that there are at least a few capable of sustaining life just by sheer chance.
Simply put, the odds against life in the universe are astonishing. Yet, here we are, not only existing, but talking about existing.
Well, clearly the most sensible inference one could make is that this violently inhospitable universe must have been intelligently designed by an all-powerful God who loves us, am I right?
What can account for it? Can every one of those many parameters have been perfectly met by accident? At what point is it fair to admit that it is science itself that suggests that we cannot be the result of random forces?
In what fucking alternate reality are the forces of physics random?
Doesn't assuming that an intelligence created these perfect conditions in fact require far less faith than believing that a life-sustaining Earth just happened to beat the inconceivable odds?
If there are octillions of planets and only one of those planets needs to meet a couple hundred parameters in order to account for our existence, I really don't see why this asshole thinks the odds are inconceivable.
But wait, there's more. The fine-tuning necessary for life to exist on a planet is nothing compared with the fine-tuning required for the universe to exist at all.
This assumes that the parameters of the universe are free to vary. We don't know this to be the case. What's the simpler supposition, that a timeless, spaceless, disembodied mind fine-tuned the parameters of the universe, or that there is some unconscious, non-mental, non-supernatural factor that forces these parameters to be what they are?